What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Reg in the building, and we are currently about to do my next hip hop review. Redman's third studio album, Muddy Waters, released in 1996 under Rush, which is under Def Jam Records. Um, yeah, you guys should know who Redman is. I've already reviewed his first two albums. I talked about what the album years ago, and I talked about There's a Dark Side a couple months ago when I did that under Speaker Cloud and shit like that. And now I finally want to talk about this album and shit. Now, originally, I was gonna do J. Cole's For Your Eyes Only that day and stuff like today actually, but I'm actually gonna postpone that one until next week. So yeah, just so y'all will know, I didn't forget about the J. Cole and stuff like that. So singles that Muddy Waters is known for are, give me 1 second. It's Like That, My Big Brother, Whatever Man, and Pick It Up. Alright, so the guest appearances include Crossbreed, Eric Sermon, Method Man, K Solo, Keith Murray, and Jamal. Alright, so, excuse me. So, right after the release of There's a Dark Side, he was still, going through his death of his friend and stuff like that. Because, it's no secret that around the time of the making of There Is a Dark Side, it was like a lot more abstract than what the album and this album too. Because, it was like a lot more psychedelic and a lot more hard beats and whatnot. So, right after that, he tried to clean himself up. He started working out more and shit like that. Um, he got himself ready and shit like that. And around that time too, it's kind of interesting because the Death Squad. Well, and realistically, Keith Murray and Prodigy were beefing, but it ended up becoming like a Death Squad and Mobb Deep beef and shit like that. But the thing about with Redman when it comes to his beefs, because he didn't really get into like a lot of major known beefs, because he had a few run-ins with some rappers and stuff. Like, of course, you guys should know the story about when MC Hammer stepped up to him. They had like a altercation or whatnot, because I think Redman said some shit in what the album. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he dissed Hammer in the Superman Lover song, but I could be wrong and shit like that. But yeah, that's something that. Yeah, just I could be wrong, but I know he dissed them on that what the album and shit like that. And so with the incident with Mobb Deep and shit, cause in the infamous album, classic album by the way, they had the infamous no pun intended, infamous prelude, and that prelude was known for the fact that Mobb Deep were talking about rappers who were on that space shit, aka rappers who smoke hella weed and shit like that. And yeah, Redman was one of the forerunners on that shit. Redman, Cypress Hill, and Keith Murray. He kind of felt some type of way about that. And y'all should know the story, but I'm not gonna drill too much. But other than that, he was working on this album came out in late '96. Muddy Waters, hence the name, named after fucking named after the fucking blues artists and shit like that. Yeah, man, this is a very dope album. I fucking love this album and shit, cause a lot of people have said that this is actually his best album. It's actually his best album and stuff like that. Even Redman himself has said this is his favorite album because he was so like disillusioned with the There's a Dark Side album, because There's a Dark Side these days is more recognized as like a cult classic these days. But at that time, not a lot of people was really on board with There's a Dark Side like that, because I think this is the production. Because you got to understand too, Redman did almost all of the production except for I want to say Can't Wait, I know Eric Sermon did Can't Wait if I'm not mistaken, but yeah. Alright, so this right here is a fucking album cover. Very dope album cover. If y'all can see, basically Redman fucking covered in mud and shit like that, just chilling. Like Redman always fucking himself, always as fucking himself. Yeah, dope album cover right here. Always loved this fucking picture of Redman. I always thought it came from the Dance the Dark Side era, but you gotta remember Dance the Dark Side, he was known for like the afro and shit, you know? Yeah, fucking Redman always being himself. And that's one thing I've always respected about Redman and shit. He's always himself, always comedic. Like, he's the perfect balance between a rapper who is comedic, hard, lyrical, lyrical. Just he doesn't get the credit he deserves for his versatility when it comes to his style and shit like that. Like, I always compared Redman to like a hip hop version of Richard Pryor, pretty much and shit like that. I don't know if it's just me, but just like, cause if you guys like watch like a lot of Richard Pryor, if you watch like a lot of Richard Pryor and shit like that, you guys know Pryor had like that raw and filtered style and shit like that, you know, and I always thought that Redman kind of had that, you know, raw and filtered style, but with a comedic tone and shit, you know. And it's crazy because, you know, people also deny the influence that Redman has definitely had, you know, on the culture. Because, you know, a lot of rappers was influenced by Redman, you know. I know Biggie said, like, he loved Redman and shit. Eminem was, you can definitely see the influence with Redman in, like, the early Eminem, like Slim Shady LP, some of Marshall Mathers LP and whatnot. What else? What else? What else? Yeah, just a lot of shit Redman been influenced. Cause you know these days when it came to like fucking when it came to fucking Redman and shit like that, a lot of people these days want to always put him like as that dude who made How High, the dude who's always with Method Man. You know, that's a comedian side, but this dude was definitely one of the most versatile and creative rappers of the time and shit. And according to an interview with like Joe Cliff of Rap City fame and whatnot, he actually named Muddy Waters just about things about the whole Muddy Waters title is not about things look or how deep it can get or can be. It's just the slouchiness of the album. I see this from the last album. I was in the dirt last time, cover my head. Now it's like I can surface with the mud on me now. I done come out, so it's time for me to get back and open like I was on the first album. Right, so, but that being said, I feel like it's finally time to talk about this fucking review and shit, and this album, excuse me. And the first song we're gonna talk about is the intro, and pretty much the intro picks off where There Is a Dark Side left off, because with this intro you hear Dr. Travis, who was like the forerunner of the album, pretty much trying to wake up Redman, talking about this is album number 3, you know, you still gotta do your thing and shit like that, and which leads us into the next track, which is He For Real? Very dope track. Love the fact that they had a boot camp click sample within that shit right there. Yeah, pretty much like a braggadocio, pretty much like a braggadocio track. You know what I'm saying? So, and then we get into Rock the Spot. Now, Rock the Spot is definitely a nice song with a nice beat and shit like that. I rock the spot, like that fucking bass line, that beat just goes ham and shit. Um, I like the line when he says, "Live from hell, but stay cooler than a double L. Turn the felony to a misdemeanor. Then now the court subpoenaed me to get my act cleaner. Fuck that, still walk out holding my strap, blood grabbing my wiener." I always love that fucking line he says and shit. So, and before I continue, we're about to get into the welcome interlude, and you guys should definitely know that Redman has some of the best skits in hip hop, and I feel like the best skits lay within this album. And Best because this album and Doc's Name 2000, but Doc's Name 2000, that's gonna be another story for a different day. I'm gonna try to review that album before the year is over. I'm gonna definitely try to review that album, but with Welcome Interlude, he's just basically reassuring everyone, welcoming back them to like the fucking album or whatnot. Um, I like that 1-800 Dick in Your Booty. Fucking so grimy and so dirty. I definitely what's interesting about this beat was the fact that they used a famous Cool in the Gang sample, which I'm not even gonna say the name of the sample because I want y'all to really just be amazed when y'all hear it. And this famous sample has been used by plenty of people, and it's just like the way that Redman used this, the way that Redman used this sample, he basically he basically used it and made it different than what it usually was and stuff like that. Like he made it a lot more futuristic, but with like a '90s twist to it. If that makes sense. Um, yeah, man, very dope track right here. Welcome Interlude. Just the beat alone, man. Just the fucking beat alone to the interlude is worth to listen to. Then we get into Case Closed, which Case Closed features his the crossbreed, which was basically I wanna say I definitely wanna say Rock Wilder and Napalm. I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but yeah. And you know, if you guys heard the name Rock Wilder, he's basically if you listen to a lot of him, you should know who Rock Wilder is and stuff like that. And him and Napalm had a duo called Crossbreed. Definitely felt like they did their thing on this song, but I always felt Redman stole the show with this one and shit like that, of course. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound is for the pound to blast all these sound men that get the post sound. Yippee ki yay, motherfuckers, here's a showdown. But since we're broke now with dope sounds, now here we go now. Like very dope. I love the way he was flowing on that shit. Like Redman was just like '96 definitely was Redman's at his peak, in my opinion and shit like that. But probably at the peak of his like creativity and shit. But yeah. And now we're gonna get into case closed. Track number 6, Pick It Up. Um, I gotta be a keep it a buck with y'all. When I first heard this song, I really was not like a big fan of it. I don't know. I really was not a big fan of this track, but over the years, I've came to I've came to appreciate it. Self-explanatory, talking about if you basically see bud on the floor, pick it up. Like don't waste no free bud and shit like that. Um, yeah, the fucking beat was very dope. It uses the a famous Roger Troutman sample, like a Zapp and Roger sample, pretty much. Um, yeah, man, and it had a dope video, which the video was very dope. Had like a little house party feel to it. Yeah, man. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard rumors that he was throwing shots at Prodigy on the last verse of this track. I don't know if it's really true. I don't know if it's really true though, but don't quote me. All right. So then track number 7. Track number 7, we get into like another skit, which is called the NIN skit, and pretty much what this skit is basically stands for niggas in New York, and they're basically just broadcasting like the drug dealing, like the weed atmosphere in like New Jersey and shit like that. Um, yeah, man, very funny skit right here, and it leads into one of my all time favorite, not just one of my all time favorite songs from this album, but one of my all time favorite songs from Redman. Period, and it's called Smoke Buddha. Now, Smoke Buddha, man, this is pretty much the first track I've heard from this album. And I knew from the first moment I've heard this track, I was like, okay, bet now I gotta hear this album. And it's pretty much like an interlude slash skit. Like it's not like a long song, but if you if you guys remember when China did the Far Side's Lab in California album, and we talked about the track Splatorium, it's pretty much on the same vein as that. But with this one, it's like a lot more better. And of course, shit like that. No shots against the no shots against like the Far Side's Splatorium song, because that's actually a dope song from Lab in California as well. But with Smoke Buddha, it's just that I don't know the way he was flowing. It's just Redman was definitely at his comfort zone with that one, and it didn't hurt that he produced this track. He uses the classic Rick James. I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna block because it's Rick James, Mary Jane. It's the Mary Jane sample. Everyone knows that sample. Everyone knows that song. I mean, come on, like this is definitely one of my favorites of this album. I love the line where he says, "I smoke the good save the backyard boogie for all groupies, and I be smoking up the hotel lobby between most sheets than the eye sleeves. I'm high G. I'm holding it down for the B Y C K Blaze. Tell you I get plubs politely, and then." As soon as he said, I smoke and then the vocal back was like, smoke, Buddha. Like, I don't know. At first, when I first heard it when I was little, I was like, is this Nate Dogg on this track? Like, but it's definitely a very funky track right here. I mean, in my opinion, he used that Mary Jane sample the best. In my opinion, like didn't do too much with it, but didn't do too much with it. But at the same time, still kept its vein and shit like that. So, yeah, man, Smoke Buddha, very dope song, highlight song right there. Track number 9, Whatever Man, featuring Eric Sermon. Oh man, this is a classic song right here. I mean, Redman, Eric Sermon. I mean, need I say more? And as dope as Redman was around this time, Eric Sermon himself was at his zenith, in my opinion, when it came to himself as a producer. He was just coming off the Double or Nothing album or whatnot. And speaking of Double or Nothing, actually, in an interview, with I want to say Complex Records, he actually said that this song was originally supposed to have been for Double or Nothing, and it was actually supposed to have been a solo Eric Sermon track. But Redman loved the track so much that he basically asked Eric if he can jump on it and whatnot. And speaking of the track, the video is also dope too because it had basically Redman and Method Man, and I want to say taking off the Blues Brothers, which classic movie from the early '80s. Rest in peace, John Belushi, by the way. Um, yeah, man, and it's just a very funky, good, cool track. Of course, I gotta quote some lines from this. Redman says, I smoked with a lot of college students. Most of them wasn't graduating and they knew it. You know the weed slang? Yeah, boy, I speak it fluent. I like your college dorm with my entourage from Newark. Bigger they come, harder they fall. That goes for knuckleheads, MCs, pussy walls, no. Yeah, man, that's college memories right there, man. Like, just, But that's another story for a different day. It's just every time I hear that line, smoking with a lot of college students, it just always takes me back. But other than that, we gonna jump into the Chicken Head Convention, which one of my another funny skit from Redman himself and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, Basically, it's just talking about these fucked up girls. When I see chicken heads, um, basically, this I think it's just like yeah, because you heard that term chicken head before. You heard that term chicken head before and shit like that. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's just funny as hell and shit. Cause it's just talking about fucked up girl, but whatever. Track number 11, On Fire. Yeah, dope track right here. Definitely has like a very light club banger feel to it. You know what I'm saying? We on fire tonight. Like this, I always thought this song was a single as well too. I always thought this song was like a single or a potential single, but yeah. Um, Next track number 12, Do What You Feel, featuring Method Man. Yeah, man, this is actually I think the second collaboration that they've done, Cause the first one, like I talked about a couple weeks ago, is when they did the how high and whatnot. And so, in this song right here, Praz from the Fugees actually produced this track right here and shit like that. So yeah, man. See, Praz, man, he's definitely a dope ass producer. Praz is a very underrated producer, but yeah, do what you feel. They both did their thing on that. You know, this is around the time when they were definitely um collaborating a lot, appearing on like a lot of remixes together. I like the line with Meth, when Meth said the shit. Where's that shit at? We moonshine and grow crops, purchasing the handhelds with the show shots. It got me spitting. These slugs at my competition and rap sessions. UAP ain't got no weapon. You live professor. Next in line, parental discretion advised. Like, Meth was just going in on that track right there. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you know, Redman. Of course, Redman did his thing with this one and shit. And he actually got the hip hop quotable of the month in the February 1997 issue. You know, from this verse right here, when he says, 3 years for carrying a loaded handgun, but it's forever when a nigga and he lands one to your cranium. That red spot on your forehead is not cause you're Arabian. Yo, watch what you say to him. You caught up in a tight situation. I should start erasing your whole organization for making whack tunes while my whole platoon rock the basement. Like, jeez. Niggas is going in on this track. Track number 13 is the stick up skit. You know, fucking another skit with fucking Redman holding up like a bus and shit like that. Redman holding up a fucking bus and shit. Um, oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. It's funny as hell. That's all I have to say. Then track number 14, we got this Creepin'. Creepin' is my favorite song off this album, pretty much. The first verse is pretty much my favorite Redman verse off this album. Like, it's pretty much tied with Superman Lover 2 as maybe my favorite Redman song and shit. Just that first verse alone when he's like, to my no good niggas and my no good bitches. Sorry if I left somebody leaving out with stitches. Seems y'all too grown for your britches. Enslaved your mind, cotton pickers for running with your sock, running with some rotten niggas. I get raw to the core with hardcore metaphor, reservoir, dog style, truly yours. Yes, I beat a slug up in your chest. Then you wonder why you can't feel the full strength of cigarettes. My nationality is brutality. Like, nigga was just flowing his ass off on that damn track. Like, oh my fucking god. And the Roy Ayers sample that I wanna say Eric no, Redman produces one. Jesus. I always thought Eric produces, but yeah, Redman produces one. Like, the way he used that Roy Ayers sample. And I'm sorry, like, I know a lot of people talk about the production that he's done on There Is a Dark Side, which I'm not denying the production on that one was good, but I feel like he stepped his game up with the shit that he's done for this album and shit. I don't know, man, because a lot of these beats were just a lot more head nodding and shit. You know what I'm saying? It was just, oh man, Creeping is just a very dope track. You know what I'm saying? Like, my favorite Redman song, period. Favorite song off this album, period, and shit. Like, come on. Hey, you guys, give me like one quick second, because I'm gonna get some water. My throat's getting dry. Sorry about that. But yeah, man, Creeping is definitely a dope ass song. Highly recommended. Track number 7, It's Like That, My Big Brother, featuring K Solo. K Solo, you guys, if you guys are familiar with the EPMD, you guys should have heard the name K Solo before. He's an original member of the Hit Squad, with the Hit Squad and shit. He dropped two albums back in the '90s. He dropped two albums back in the '90s and stuff. Tell the World My Name and Time's Up in '92. Tell the World My Name in 1990. Um, Time's Up though. That's in my opinion his best album and shit like that. In my opinion, that's his best album and shit. And both albums are unfortunately out of print. Well, I want to say they re-released them both albums. I want to say, but don't quote me on that. And after the release of Time's Up, he actually got sent to prison. He actually got sent to prison. I think because he was wrongly convicted of assault and shit like that. And and one thing about K Solo people should remember was he was known for that spellbound flow, pretty much. Like how he would rap and he would spell the word when he's rapping and shit. And there was some controversy with that because it was said like who was the real originator of that sound because both K Solo and DMX came out with a song called Spellbound. Came out with a song called Spellbound and shit. And they kind of had like a little beef, which resulted in X throwing a shot at K Solo on the song Get At Me Dog. But yeah, y'all should definitely know who K Solo. Y'all should definitely know who K Solo is and shit like that. I'm not really gonna speak too much on him because I've already mentioned him pretty much like around the channel and shit. But excuse me, what I was about to say when it came to it's like that my big brother. This was just a collaboration between Redman and K Solo, and with K Solo, he kind of adapted a more different flow. He adapted a more different flow and shit like that because he adapted more of like a more deeper voice, a deeper flow and shit like that. Like the man thing, like it was like a lot more slower and grimy and whatnot. And originally, this was actually supposed to have been a Redman solo track. Actually, it was actually supposed to have been a Redman solo track, but once K Solo came out, he got with K Solo, and this was like the first time people heard from K Solo. EPMD's Headbanger track from the Business Never Personal album. So definitely a dope track right here. Um, K Solo definitely did his thing on this one, in my opinion. And probably my favorite appearance from K Solo, if you ask me. I'm not like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of K Solo, but I feel like he definitely deserves more respect than he does and shit like that. And the fact they were rapping over the Just Ice's Cold Getting Dumb sample and shit like that. So very dope track right here. Then we're gonna get to track number 16, The Bump. Oh my fucking god. This was another dope song right here where he sampled he pretty much sampled himself. He sampled himself because the and shit like that. So I always felt like that was pretty interesting. I love the beat Eric Sermon made. Bassline was dope like that. Yeah, man, very dope track, The Bump. Then track number 17, we got is Uncle Quilly. Uncle Quilly, you guys should remember him from the There's the Dark Side days and stuff like that. Uncle Quilly basically just calling the radio and shit like that. I like when the DJ said, "Yo, what's up? How your mama and them?" And he just gets mad and said, "Yo, mama, you fat slew-footed fucker." And I know those ain't your real nail either. Like Uncle Quilly just going ham and shit like that. And track number 18, we got to Yes Yes Y'all. Um, Again, another dope song that was produced by Eric Sermon and shit like that. Definitely I love some of the like lines he was spitting and shit like that. Like he had this one line where he says, "You couldn't run up if your fighter was Virtua. I'm the round the clock lyricist. I sleep in my work boots. It's a thin line between love and hate. It's a thin line between the trigger and the finger of a 38." Like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Oh my fucking god. Track number 19, What You Looking For? What you're looking for is again another one of Redman's rare socially conscious tracks because with this track he was actually talking about police brutality, police brutality and shit like that, asking the cops what they looking for when they search them, when he gets searched and shit like that. And yeah, it's a very dope track. He actually talked about police brutality a couple times in what the album and shit like that. So yeah, I just felt that it was pretty interesting and shit like that. So yeah, man, very dope track. I love the beat. Redman and Rockwell definitely did a thing making that beat. And then track number 20, we got is the Superman Lover 3 interview skit, which leads us into the next installment of the Superman Lover. As you know, Redman being the Superman Lover himself, getting interviewed and shit like that, and which leads us into Superman Lover 3 itself. So with Superman Lover 3, this one was again another very different. It was another different installment when it came to the Superman Lover series because with this one he didn't use the Johnny Guitar Watson sample with this edition, and if you guys listen to the first two installments, he uses that sample, and instead he uses the same sample that Nas and Q-Tip used on what's the track called? One Love from the Illmatic and shit like that. And so with that being said, I always felt like Redman uses the sample the best and shit like that. But I love One Love, y'all. Don't get me wrong, but the way that Redman uses that sample for Superman Level 3, I just love the way he was flowing on that track, just his attitude and shit. But this one kind of caused some mini controversy because after that they had like a beat switch up, and with the beat switch up, Redman breaks down the story. Redman pretty much breaks down the story like in a more conventional tone, and he's talking about how he ends up going to this chick's house and stuff like that. And it turns out the chick is actually J to the A to the N to the E, like Jade from the EPMD series and whatnot. So this is pretty much one of the times when a rare time when the Superman Lover and Jane was in a track together. But this is where the controversy came out because in the line he had a line when he mentioned that the Superman Lover was sneaking around Jane over the real man, and her real man was like Paris Smith. And if you guys should know your history of EPMD, between '93 and I want to say like '97, Parrish and Eric were kind of beefing at that time because of that whole robbery controversy, the robbery that happened in Paris Smith's house and shit, Eric Serm- which he accused Eric Sermon of. And so, with that being said, Paris Smith, he split his ties with Eric Sermon. He called his shit the Hit Squad, and he kind of looked at it like, okay, Redman's throwing shots at me under Eric Sermon, so he felt some type of way about it. That in his next album, Business is Business, that was dropped in '97, he dissed Redman in the last verse off the song It's the P97. So I felt that was pretty interesting as hell. But ironically, the next year after this album came out, the whole EPMD clique squashed the beef and they came out with the Back in Business album and shit '97, which that album to me was very solid. It's not as good as the first four, but I respect it for what it is. So I reviewed that album years ago, so just check it out for elaborate opinion. Alright, so next track off this album is Rollin'. Rollin', again another dope track right here that was produced by Eric Sermon. He has some dope lines on this one was, how ugly do you have to be a hardcore MC? Niggas be fooled by my plaques and my light skin complexion. My whole texture is bombing, destroying the schools of the whack. From the land of the lost, you get tossed. Listen to my velocity, my crew's coming off. Like, very dope line right there. I love the fact that it samples Eric being Rakim and shit. So, And the last track, the Ill Out, featuring Keith Murray and Jamal. Pretty much a posse cut between Def Squad. Keith Murray, man, around that time was definitely a problem. Like this is around the time he dropped the Enigma album, which I want to say I got the album. I want to say I got the album and shit because it's the first album, My Beautiful Twisted Fantasy, that I still to this day I don't have. But part of me says I should have the Enigma album. I gotta double check on that. But yeah, I felt like Keith Murray definitely did his thing with lines like, "You'll get attached like the blood sucking leech when you feel into my rhythm of speech. Your ears get embraced with the touch of the bass. Heads get wrapped up, necks get thrown in a neck brace." Like, fucking out of here, man. Like, and it's a shame to this day that Jamal only dropped one album, the Last Chance No Breaks album, which that album, in my opinion, that was a very solid album. I just have to re-listen to it though. But yeah, man, that's all the songs of this album. Overall, this is actually a very dope album. It's a classic, hip hop classic by many. Um, Pretty much, if you ask me what my favorite Redman album is, part of me would say it's this one, but artistically, I would definitely say There Is a Dark Side artistically, because just in terms of like the production and like the style of the album, whereas lyrically, Muddy Waters definitely reigns supreme and shit lyrically. So yeah, very dope album. Production was pretty much like a vintage. It had that vintage vintage Def Squad production and whatnot. Um, yeah, man, I definitely love this album and shit like that. It's a for must have for your collection when it comes to Redman. I mean, and considering the fact that this came out in like late '96, because the thing about 1996, that was a dope year in hip hop, but that was the time when like, a lot of hip hop albums got like dark and serious, because it was so caught up with that East Coast West Coast beef and whatnot, and either rappers were like talking about it or dissing each other. Whereas I always felt like with this album and Busta Rhymes The Coming, definitely ended '96 like on a happy note or some shit, if that makes sense. But this is a very must have in your collection, and they actually re-released this album in 2014 on vinyl again and shit like that. I think for like I want to say it's like a reissue on vinyl. So if y'all can find it, must have in your collection. And that's all the time I have for this album. Stay tuned for more stuff. Peace.